Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here to talk about Commons QuickBooks because enrollment is closing tomorrow. But it wouldn't be a live call if I didn't start with the thought of the day. For those of you who are here a little early, we are chatting about just general business questions like how do you do things? And I love that. So you can always pop those kind of questions in. I'll answer them. If you have questions about Commons QuickBooks, pop those in as well. I'll share a little bit about why I created Commons QuickBooks, how it can help you, who it's for, who maybe it's not for, and I'll show you the behind the scenes too of it if you'd like. All right, how you doing? Have you been here before when I did a thought of the day? Let me know. I like to pull from the Life Loves You deck, and the reason I do this, if you don't know, is because one, I love inspiration. But two, a lot of times we're all different places and maybe you were stressed thinking, I'm going to be late, I'm going to miss it. You're not. You're here, perfect timing. And if you're catching the replay because you weren't able to join us live, hello. Post any questions you have later and we'll come back and answer them. So let's see what we're meant to hear today. I am creative. That's our thought today. It has little like crayons and colored pencils. And it says, honor your unique gifts. Think of 3 ways you could express your creativity today. So one of the things I often notice with people when we're talking numbers and QuickBooks is they either think I'm not creative, I'm very like numbers driven, which I used to kind of think that, or they think I'm really creative and I'm not good at numbers. It's like you think you have to be one or the other. And the truth is you can be both. And the more you lean into, especially if you love numbers, the more you lean into being creative, you'll notice you can probably relax a little bit more. And if you're super creative, realizing that equivalently, being aware of what's happening in your business, where your numbers are at, is super important. Okay. It's the yin and yang of life. It is the balance. You need both. Creativity, what makes you unique. I don't know if you guys listened to our Number Compass podcast. It's something that I did recently. It was a private podcast, very just 8 episodes. But one of the things I shared in there is why I pull inspiration is because it's both sides of me. It is the left and the right side. It's like I love being analytical. I love accounting. And I also really enjoy being creative and inspirational. And that's just like, that's both sides of me. And the more I stepped into being unique and knowing who I was, I attracted more of the types of students and clients I want to work with. And if you've been struggling attracting who you want to work with, whether that's bookkeeping clients or any type of client for your business, something to think about is what makes you unique and different. And the more you lean into it, you might notice that that is when the magic happens in your business. Sound good? All right. So let's get started with a few slides that I have for you. We'll jump into QuickBooks too. I see some of you are posting questions. Perfect. Cool. So what is Commons QuickBooks? Why did I create it? I'll let you know, but I also want to know a little bit about you as well. So let me know in the chat or in the comments the reason you're thinking about learning QuickBooks. Is it because you're brand new, like you're just starting out? Or have you been using it for a while, but you notice you're making mistakes? You thought it was going to be easy and it wasn't. Or you're figuring it out, but you realize there is more to this that you want to keep learning. Let me know. You can type in a 1, 2, or 3. Brand new, said Beth. Okay. So this is the thing. Some of you are 3s. Okay. So that's like, I've been using QuickBooks for a while, but I want to learn more. And some of you are 2s. Like it's all across the board. It doesn't matter. I designed Commons QuickBooks for each of you in a different way. Okay. Because after teaching QuickBooks for 18 years, I know what you need. Whether you're brand new or you've been using QuickBooks for a long time, you still need a solid foundation, because that's those of you who go, I only know how to get there one way. Or when something comes across your desk that's different, you're like, I don't really know how to do that, right? So no matter where you're at, you always want to start with understanding what features give you what results in QuickBooks. In other words, if you use invoices, it's going to create accounts receivable, which means your customers are going to pay you later. That's great for accounts receivable, accrual accounting. It's great for certain types of reports or sales tax. But maybe you don't need any of those things, and it would be a waste of your time to create an invoice when you don't need it. Then you could be using a sales receipt or recording directly to a deposit. And I think that's one of the things is I like to teach what the features do so you know, but then you can pick and choose when to use them. So some of your bookkeepers, you have multiple clients. You don't need to do all your clients' books the same way. You can be more efficient and still give them what they need depending on the features that what they want to see on the reports and then what features do that. Okay, whether you're a business owner, bookkeeper, or you work for someone, all of those things still exist. Does that make sense? Will you let me know? So whether you are a 1, 2, or 3, you are in the right place. I want to share with you why I teach QuickBooks. If you don't know, if we've never met before, hi, I'm Candace. I teach QuickBooks not because I'm an accountant. It's actually because I am an entrepreneur as well, and I love seeing other business owners and bookkeepers, even team members, be able to simplify QuickBooks because so often I see you're overcomplicating it. And when someone can make it simple for you, you can use it as the tool that you thought it was going to be to, one, grow your business, but also to make tax time less stressful. Make sense? So we're going to go around QuickBooks a little today. If you came to my class that I hosted last week, this is going to be similar to that, but you can still ask questions and we'll chat along the way. It's going to be a little bit different. But I want you to think about opening up your QuickBooks. What would that feel like if you could know exactly how to navigate it, what features to be using, and understand how to enter any transaction that comes across your desk? Because that is why I created Confidence QuickBooks, okay? So one of the things I often tell QuickBooks users is that when you master your financial dashboard, which is your reports, it will be the fastest way to understand your numbers so you know exactly what's happening in your business, okay? So let's jump in. How many of you, let me know in the chat, have pulled a profit and loss before? Let me know. Yes or no, and no judgment. So just, like if you tell me, Candace, I've never done that, it's fine, okay? A lot of you are saying yes. Okay, great. Anybody know? Okay, we do have some no's. So depending on what version of QuickBooks you're using, QuickBooks Online is changing. So for those of you who maybe have never pulled a profit and loss before, and if your QuickBooks looks like this, the newest version, some they've rolled it out too. And people have been messaging me like, I hate the new layout, but I want to show it to you so you can start getting more familiar with it. Okay. I've just started and scared. I've worked as a bookkeeper for years, and you like it, but you don't know QuickBooks. Cool. So what you want to do is when you come over here and you click standard, your reports, you're going to see a profit and loss in your business overview, which is here. And you're going to come down and you're going to click on profit and loss. If you've never done this, I highly recommend it. Okay. This is one of my training files. So it doesn't have a whole lot of transactions in here. So it's pretty simple, but we'll just keep it simple, right? So when you're looking at your QuickBooks reports and you're looking at your profit and loss, a few things to know is you always need a date range because a profit and loss has a begin date and an end date. A balance sheet, which is the other report you need to file taxes. These are the two reports you need to have to file taxes at least. The profit and loss has your income minus your expenses, gives you a bottom line. It has a beginning date and an end date. So what you might be thinking is, what happened last year if you're filing taxes? What's happening this year? Okay. So that's the first thing. The whole purpose of using QuickBooks is to get this report. Okay. It'll tell you what's happening. Where's your income coming in? Where is it going out? And it will tell you how profitable you are. And at the very bottom, that's what that number is telling you. So I often get asked that question, Candace, if this number at the bottom is negative, what's it mean? It means you had more loss. You spent more money than you made. If it's a positive, you generated more revenue than the expenses that you've added. Now, it depends if your data is accurate or not, okay? So I often see business owners never pulling this report, one, because they don't know how to pull it, but then two, they don't know how to start customizing it. I've not ran any reports before, Barbara said. Okay, that's fine. So what you want to do is you want to start thinking about this because every time you come into QuickBooks, whether you're desktop or online, I can show you desktop in a moment. and you come over here and you create an invoice or you enter expense. Maybe you're using the bank feed, maybe you're using the different features. It doesn't matter. Every time you enter a transaction, it asks you, let's just say an expense. It'll say here, who'd you pay, date, all that stuff. But what you're really looking for is this. What account do you want to see? And when you choose these accounts, whether you're doing it here or in the bank feed, guess what that's doing for you? It's putting it into different accounts for your profit and loss. So when you first set up your QuickBooks, I shared this on my training I recently did, is that QuickBooks asks you a few questions. It says, what does it ask you? What industry are you in? And it gives you what we call a CAN chart of accounts, because that list that you see when you enter expense, the list that you see on your profit and loss comes from what's called your chart of accounts, okay? And everybody has a list of them. And hopefully it's close to what you need. But that's a question to ask yourself. It's one of the questions I often have you reflect on, which is when you pull your profit and loss, if you have been pulling, which a lot of you said you have been, if you're thinking about it this way on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being your QuickBooks doesn't give you anything you need, and 10, it's like completely dialed in, you know exactly where your money's going, what would you rate yours right now? Where are you at with your ability to read your finances? So rate yourself. This isn't like a judgment, it's just a place where you can take a moment to say, where am I at with my QuickBooks? 3 or 5, okay? 1 is not at all. 5 is completely dialed in. I'm sorry, 10 is completely dialed in, okay? And for those of you who are using desktop, you're gonna go over to Reports, Company and Financial, Profit and Loss Standard, okay? And you'll see your titles sitting here. That's your income and your expense. As I said before, all of these come from your chart of accounts. So if you're finding that your ability to read your chart of your reports is more like a 1, 2, 3, somewhere below like an 8, 9, or 10, even at an 8 or 9, you have room for improvement, okay? Because remember, the whole purpose of QuickBooks is to help you make business decisions. So often we only think of it as the thing we use for tax time, and the taxes is what drives us. But if you could shift your mindset and say, I can actually look at this throughout the year to make pivots and changes in my business. I did this. I shared this in our podcast that we did recently, and you might have heard me talk about it before. I don't know. But 2 times I've done this in my own business, at least. More than that, but 2 that I can share with you. In my husband's hardwood flooring business, he did installation and refinishing. We were getting to a point where he was trying to decide, like, we aren't as profitable as we need to be. Why? So we were able to use the profit and loss by job. So the standard is just everything, but you can do a profit and loss by job. You can do a profit and loss by class. I can tell you more about that if you want to know. But when you came in here, we started looking at it and we went, oh, we're not making near enough profit, because the benefit of doing what's called job costing in QuickBooks, especially if you're in construction, but really in many different industries, is to say, based off the different, maybe rental properties, maybe construction jobs, clients that you have, what did we charge them? And then what did we pay out? And what is our bottom line profit? That's one of the reports you can pull, right? So that's where the features that you use, depending on what you want QuickBooks to do for you, is how you design it. And that's what I do inside Comms QuickBooks. I'm always breaking down, what do you need it to do for you? And so we were able to make a decision. We went, no, we don't need to drop our prices, which is what my father-in-law recommended. We took the business over from him. We went to him, we're like, we don't think we're making enough profit. He goes, you know what I always did? I just dropped my prices. Everything always worked out. And we're like, that doesn't make logical sense to us, but okay. And then I said, well, let's look at the reports. And that's when we went, oh, actually dropping the prices isn't going to fix this problem. If anything, it's going to make it worse. Does that make sense to you? Now, in my business I do now, where I teach QuickBooks, I used to do one-on-one sessions, and I hired a consultant. We looked at our profit and loss, we had all the details, and he said, your YouTube channel, which I teach trainings on, he said, the ad spend that you're getting from that is generating as much, if not more, than your private sessions. If you spent more time creating free training, if you gave, supported people more, I actually think it would help your business. But I couldn't see that until I took a step back and actually looked at the reports. Does that make sense? So when you're thinking about your QuickBooks, you're asking yourself, what is it giving me to make decisions? What levers, what changes income-wise, expense-wise, can I make adjustments on? Okay? Makes sense. So that's my question for you, is to always say, where am I at right now? Am I using my finances to, like my reports, to help me make decisions? Okay. So inside Commons QuickBooks, I'll share with you a little bit about how I created the training, if it is something you're interested in, so you know how it can help you. Make sense? And if you have additional questions, please let me know. So when I created Commons QuickBooks, I wanted a program that would help people go through it, but also to get support along the way. I'll share what that looks like in a moment. So I built it on 5 pillars. A lot of times people say, I only need this one thing. And what I find is that's what you think, because what you don't know is there's probably a gap somewhere else. Okay. So if you've been trying to go to YouTube, for example, and pick and choose certain videos to watch, but you find you still can't enter everything, it's because you didn't get what I call a solid foundation. And that starts with 1, knowing where and what features to be using when you set up your QuickBooks. And then after we set up our QuickBooks, we start tracking how we want to track our expenses. Like, where's your money going, right? Because you could have job costing, as I showed you. You could do classes. Maybe you don't need that. You can create accounts payable. Maybe you just want to do the simplest way. Maybe you need to be tracking your independent contractors. So whenever you're paying someone to help you, like with my husband's hard flooring business, he would have sometimes employees, but sometimes he have independent contractors come in and do work, right? So depending on your state, your laws, your regulations, it'll depend. But you might bring somebody in to do janitorial services for you. Those types of labor and support, you want to give them a 1099 at the end of the year. Those guidelines are always changing, but we teach you how to do it directly from inside QuickBooks. And if there's 2 different types of 1099s, there's the 1099 miscellaneous and a 1099 NEC. So depending on which one of those, you can do them both from QuickBooks, but it's how you set them up. Okay. So we teach you all that kind of things. So everything related to where you're spending money, where it's going, tracking it. And then one of the keys to learning QuickBooks is, and one of the things I teach you, is that you don't just go in and enter a transaction. What we do is we enter a transaction and then we go look, how did it impact your reports? Because if you're not taking it from when you enter it to see it directly on your reports, you'll notice there's a gap. Like, you'll get to the point where you're looking at reports later and you're like, I really don't know what's in any of these numbers. And that doesn't serve you, because you can't make decisions if you don't know. So one of the things that's different about Commons QuickBooks, a few things. 1, it's not a canned file. I teach you how to build a file from scratch, okay? Or sometimes if you'll go to a college class, they'll have like a pre-created file and they go, use this file. And you're like, but what do I do? Does that happen to you, where you go, like, you take a class, but then you don't know how to implement it to your actual books? It's because there's this gap in reality training, right? Like real life examples and then doing it. So you always want to enter your transactions and see what happens. And that's what we do inside of Commons QuickBooks. And after you learn about expenses, now it's time to properly track your income. There are 3 main ways to track income in QuickBooks: invoices, sales receipts, and going directly to recording a deposit or using the bank fee. Each of them gives you different benefits and different reports. If you were on my class recently, I showed you my sales by item or sales by product and service report. It's one of my favorite reports, but the only way you get it is if you're using invoices or sales receipts. Do you know the difference between invoices and sales receipts? Let me know. Let me check. Okay, so some of you are saying no. All right, let's get into QuickBooks and look around here. So if you don't know what the different features give you, especially if you're a bookkeeping client or you're doing your own books, then you could be wasting time, okay? So invoices here is going to give you what we call accounts receivable. So that gives you a report that you can pull later that says who owes you money. These are your different clients that are going to pay you. Now, I learned a lesson with this. Even though I teach QuickBooks, I'm a human. I make mistakes too. I was working, when I was still doing one-on-one clients, I billed someone and then went about my business. And then the next month we worked together and I billed them again. But I was billing them not in QuickBooks. I was doing it in Square. And I totally forgot. They didn't see the invoice. I totally forgot, and I didn't think about it till the next month. And we all know that in business, cash is king. You can't pay your bills if you don't have cash. So knowing who owes you and managing it is super important. Okay. I used to work for a multi-million dollar roofing supply company, and they had 14 locations. And the owner would call his managers almost daily to be like, where is this person at who's on accounts receivable report? Okay. And if your report's not clean and accurate, it's really hard to know where it's coming from. So that's the benefit of invoice. That's the number one way you can enter it, whether you're online or desktop, and create an invoice. The second is a sales receipt. The difference between a sales receipt and an invoice is that with an invoice, the customers are going to pay you later. With a sales receipt, it combines both the sale and the money at the same time. And then the third way is to do it straight in record deposit. The reason I'm sharing this with you on the desktop, whether you're online or not, is because it's very visual. It's going to help you see that there's a journey that happens. And I find that sometimes with QuickBooks Online, people get confused because they don't see the journey. Let me know if that's ever you. If you're like, yeah, sometimes I'm not sure which one. And in case you're using the older, it's not older, it's still QuickBooks, but it's the other version. It's even the one that I still have. It looks like this. So if yours doesn't look white and it looks like this, you want to make sure that you know that there are the three ways still: invoice, sales receipt, or you go straight to record deposit. Or if you're using bank feeds, where it syncs to QuickBooks and it brings it in, it's going to pop up all of our little extra little notifications. You want to be thinking about, how am I tracking my sales? Because if you're going and you're just adding it and it says uncategorized, you're not going to know what happened. And if you're not sure it's adding it correctly, you can have duplicates. And if you overstate your income, you'll notice that what happens is that you overpay in taxes, which nobody wants to do. Okay. So in our third pillar of Commons QuickBooks, we focus on the best way to track your income and expenses for you. If you have merchant fees, payments, discounts, like depending on what's happening, NSFs, I saw somebody ask that a little bit earlier. What's the best way? Is it important to categorize before reconciling? Absolutely. So you'll notice, and that's a great question, Alice, because we're literally going to talk about that next, is you want to set it up properly. That's the first part of the pillar. The second is your expenses. The third is your income. And then the fourth is what I call the check and balance system. It is reconciling, as if you knew that's what I was going to say next. Reconciling your QuickBooks to your bank or credit card statement. Now, if you get behind on your data entry, it's okay, but you still want to do this to know that the data is correct. And that is our fourth pillar. Okay. It's where you go in and you reconcile. If you are not reconciling, there's like a 99.9% chance that you have mistakes in your QuickBooks. I would say almost 100, but I'll give it 99.9% just in case there's that 0.1% that you got everything right. But it is the only way to have a check and balance. In accounting, you always want to have a check and balance system. For example, when you go to pay your sales tax, payroll taxes, any taxes, you should always verify the amount you're paying is correct. Well, if you just assume that everything you entered in QuickBooks is always perfect, you're going to have a very big surprise when you go to start reconciling. Because especially if you're using bank feeds in QuickBooks, it can stop syncing. It can accidentally bring it in twice. It's a software. Nothing is perfect. Okay. So when you reconcile, what that looks like is you can come over and you just click reconcile, whether you're desktop or online. It's going to give us a little bit of like pop-ups, but we'll just ignore them for now. You're coming in here and you're saying, what is the beginning balance in my bank? What does it say on the ending balance on my statement? Yours won't be the exact amount, but since this is just a sample. And then you come in here and you say, these are all the transactions that show up in QuickBooks, but also in the bank. So the check and balance is saying, this is what my bank statement, the piece of paper says, and this is what QuickBooks says. And what you get to do when you're in here is verify that the data is right. Verify that you put it to the right expense category or income category, that the payee is correct, versus just assuming that everything's right. How many of you are reconciling? Let me know. No judgment. It's okay if you're not, Please put this on your notes from today's class. You want to start doing this. Okay. If your answer is no, make sure. Now, one of the things I shared is we have a cleanup bonus inside Commerce QuickBooks. So if you are reconciling, but you notice that you have old transactions sitting here that say like May, but you're in September and you know that you've already reconciled that, or it's from a previous year, you're going to want to go in and get these cleaned up. Because if you come to me and you said, hey, Candace, anybody have this where your bank balance in QuickBooks and your real bank balance are vastly different? That comes from, especially if you're still reconciling, but they're always different, from having old transactions that are just sitting here that you've never cleaned up. So there's an extra bonus that you get inside Commerce QuickBooks to help you fix that. I was reconciling, but my QuickBooks balance never matched my bank, so I stopped. Lucy, the reason it never matched is because you had old transactions, or if you're talking about inside the bank feed, like it says in QuickBooks in bank, this one says negative, it's a sample file, it's not real, don't worry. But the reason that happens is because you either have a bunch of transactions you've never entered, or you have old transactions you've never cleaned up. Let me know if that makes sense. I'm just checking, see how y'all doing. Okay, so let's keep going. That is the check and balance system. Super important. If you're not doing it, make sure you do. Yeah, you need to go in and clean them up. That's why I didn't balance. We also covered things like the bank feed, which we talked about, transferring money between your accounts, like if you have a savings and a checking, how to do that, as well as petty cash, credit card rewards, and undeposited funds mistakes. Okay, we cover all of that inside Commerce QuickBooks. And then after you've set it up, entered all your expenses, all your income, and reconciled, only at that time can you actually get to the next level, which is using your reports for taxes and to grow your business, right? Because we want to make sure that we're becoming more profitable and growing our businesses. And this is the final piece of what we teach inside Commerce QuickBooks. You can only do this once you've verified everything's right. Okay? So some extra bonuses that we cover is things like property management, rental properties, purchasing assets, selling assets, adding loan payments, all of those things that you're going to need as well. So remember, Commerce QuickBooks is built on 5 key pillars. You need all 5 of these to be able to be truly confident with QuickBooks. Because if you know how to enter your expenses but not your income, or you don't know how to reconcile, then your reports aren't accurate. And if it was never set up right, you also have a problem, okay? So one of the benefits of Commerce QuickBooks is it's self-study. You can go at your own pace, and you go through it as many times as you want. You get lifetime access. As we update it, you'll get the bonuses. You also get some extra bonus training. I mentioned earlier about the cleanup bonus. We also have your ACE your tax appointment. It's a training and a cheat sheet to go through of a list before your tax appointment. If you want to process payroll, we have a masterclass and a quarterly and year-end forums. And you get access to live calls with me. So remember I said this is a little different than most things. Not only do you get the training that you can go back through as much as you want, you can watch it nights, weekends, whenever it works for you. You log into our training portal. You also get access to implementation calls with me. They are group coaching calls that we're going to do, where you can ask, one, how to fast track your success with QuickBooks. I'm going to give you guidelines for that. And then we also have a group laser coaching. This is where I'll look at your QuickBooks. You can come in and say, Candace, I have questions, and I will answer them for you. And you also get access to our cheat sheets. So if you love keyboards, let me know if you're a keyboard person. And I'm going to teach you how to do journal entries. So if you need to do journal entries, you don't need to do them very often, but if you do, I want you to do them correctly. Remember, we also have our new bonus, all about how to clean up bank accounts and credit cards. So not only do you get Commerce QuickBooks, you get all of the bonuses included. And Joel wish he would have found me sooner. That's what people often say, because he had input his data because he wanted to maintain good records, but he had mistakes. So he says, all the data that I input, maintaining good records and keeping track of expenses and deposits makes me feel in great control of my company. His only regret is that he didn't find us sooner in his QuickBooks quest to start all things correctly. Everybody wishes they would have done them correctly initially. Reality is most don't. Don't beat yourself up over that. This is what he shared. but you've taught me how to fix my problems. Thank you, Candace. Because you don't have to live with them forever. You can have accurate books and you keep using that knowledge moving forward. And maybe you're like Lori. She said, I love how the program is set up and everything is step by step because I teach you in sequential order. Where maybe you've watched like my YouTube trainings or something like that, where we go in different, like you get a tip here and a tip there and they're on different topics. Commons QuickBooks is sequential. She said, I can go through the class at the same time. So I recommend like having it on your computer, your QuickBooks, and then maybe you have a tablet or something else where you can watch the training and you can go back and forth. Because for her learning style, she liked to watch me do it and then do it at the same time because that was the best way for her to learn. And maybe you're like Betty. She said, I had learned so much and feel able to navigate QuickBooks easier. I'd encourage anyone to take the class before getting started. I'm telling you, everybody's always like, I wish I'd done this sooner. But you know, you find me when you find me. So it's okay. It's so much easier now because she has the knowledge and it's better than starting with no knowledge, in her opinion. She says that we take time and we explain QuickBooks in detail. And maybe you're like Mary. You've been wanting QuickBooks to be the solution you thought it was going to be. She said, you rock, Candace. Thank you for making QuickBooks what it should be, a simple accounting solution for businesses. And this is one of the reasons I really teach QuickBooks, truth be told, is what Alicia shared. Since I've joined the program, I've learned so much and I'm able to reference back the videos to assist when stuck. And I'm feeling much better about QuickBooks. But this is what matters the most to me. I'm able to have time for my family and participate in more activities because I want you to be more effective with your QuickBooks. I want it to be quicker and easier for you. I don't want you to doubt yourself. I don't want you to have to redo things because you made mistakes. I want you to be able to use that time to do other things in your business, which I often hear from our students. They're like, I'm able to get back in the field and do this or do that because I'm not so busy doing my bookkeeping anymore, right? You want to be efficient and effective. And Julie shared it has helped ease concerns, confirmed what she already was doing correctly, but also taught her more about where she was doing things wrong in the past and allowed her to correct her QuickBooks. There's probably things you are doing right. I'm not saying you're doing everything wrong, but I want you to know if you are making mistakes, how to do it correctly moving forward. She said, I love that I can reference back the program at any time that I have a question between the program and our private Facebook group. She says, I have been able to learn my daily business tasks much more effectively and I'm more confident. Rona shared that one of the best decisions she ever made, everything at your fingertips. When you learn to enter all of your data correctly, you can take the time to look for errors and you'll have awesome reports. Candace leads you through every step of the way. The classes are recorded so you can go back and listen to them at your own speed. All right, so you might be thinking, okay, we're talking about QuickBooks, but we're talking about what's possible in your business when you understand your financials and the impact you'll have on your business. So I'm curious, those of you who are here, what do you think it's going to cost you if you keep doing things the way you are right now? Have you thought about this? It's a scary thought. Time and money. This is going to be different for all of you. So I want you to think about, like, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I put this off, what's that going to look like? But then the other side of it is you want to think about what's the gain? How could this add to your business in the next 12 months? What could it add? And for all of you, that's going to be different. Maybe you're thinking about starting a bookkeeping business or hire a bookkeeper. Let's talk about that. If they're going to do everything you learn inside Commons QuickBooks, what do you think the investment would be every month? They're going to do enter your expenses and your income, reconcile for you, process payroll if you want to, because you can learn that, get you ready for your tax appointment. Let's say it's $500 a month. That would be around $6,000 a year. And how many more years are you going to be in business? You can join Commons QuickBooks for $197 today, and then 5 additional installments. Then it's yours to keep. Or you can choose to do our pay in full option. It's $997. You get all the extra bonuses, calls with me. You can go to commonsquickbooks.com to join. When you go there, you're going to see 2 ways to join, as I mentioned. You can do the installments of the $197 today and then 5 additional, 1 every 30 days, or you can do the pay in full. You're going to choose if you want the desktop version or the online version because they are different. You can do the bundle if you want when you go to checkout. I recommend using the email address you already have with us if you have an email. If you choose to do something else, that's fine. Just let us know and we'll merge your accounts and then we'll make sure you get all of your bonuses. And you'll see a confirmation video from me when you join and an email, which will get you access to our members training portal. And you can go in and start checking out the videos right away. So who is Confidence with QuickBooks for? It's going to be for you if you want to feel confident entering all areas of QuickBooks and not just a couple. You're ready to learn how to find and fix mistakes and avoid them in the future, meaning as you learn how to do it right, you'll realize why a mistake happened so you don't do it again. You either are just getting started and are feeling beyond frustrated, or you've used QuickBooks for years maybe, but you feel like you're lost. You just don't understand how to enter any transaction or every transaction. Maybe even bookkeeping isn't your specialty, but you want to learn more so you can manage your own books or take on additional clients. And you're ready to walk into your CPA's office with just a couple pieces of paper at tax time. Now, if you're QuickBooks Online, they just probably have your file. You can always back it up. But really, for most of my students, they just give their tax professional their reports and they get compliments. They go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So remember, we have our 30-day money-back guarantee. If Commerce QuickBooks isn't what you thought it was going to be, you can email us back for a full refund. And I would love to share with you, Tracy sent me this because she'd been using QuickBooks for years. She sent me this on Instagram, my stories. You can always message me. I'd love to hear your aha moments. Please do. She said, my biggest win was finding you and learning QuickBooks. She said, I'm not kidding. For 4 years, she only used to create invoices. And now she was closed when she sent this message through October and will get her business stuff over to her tax professional in January. It hung over my head so much and was such a huge stress and self-loathing. She said, thank you. I know I've told you this, but I want to remind you, I know QuickBooks is about more than just taxes and just business decisions. It's about how it impacts your life. This is the cool thing. She came back to me. I'm telling you, you can get compliments from a tax professional. I hear this all the time. She came back and she messaged me. She said, taxes are done last week, submitted, check in the mail to the IRS. My accountant said he was so impressed with what a technical whiz I've become with QuickBooks. Then she's like, oh, I'm not a technical whiz, but I feel very comfortable taking care of my very small business. Is that what you want to feel like? Do you want your tax professional to be like, wow, that's amazing? Because when you make it easier for them, it costs you less. But this is also the fact that I know she shared. She said, this has been such a relief since she was dealing with the loss of a child and her husband was going through cancer at the time. She said, it hasn't been easy to focus, but you made it easy. It's been hard to focus, but we made it easy. So remember, Commerce QuickBooks is open until tomorrow is when we close enrollment. I want to make sure you know exactly what it is. I get your questions answered so you can make a decision if this is the right fit for you. So let's get in. Oop, I skipped over my let's answer your questions slide. So let's go back. Okay. You guys popped in questions. I'm here for it. So give me a moment. Let me go back because some of you popped in some at the very beginning. Let's answer these. How to handle an overpayment made on a corporate credit card. We made a payment to the corporate credit card, which now shows an overpayment according to the statement, and the credit card reconciliation does not balance. Okay, I love this question. So I'll show you in QuickBooks. Does that sound good? I think that will make the most sense. I'm a very visual, I love to teach visually because I think it helps learn. So remember that whenever you're paying down a credit card, now if some of you are going, what does she mean by corporate credit card? A corporate credit card is a business credit card that's other card holders inside of it, okay? So one of the questions I get asked often, this is what I want you to know. Whenever you're paying down your card, your corporate credit card, depends if you have sub-account set up or not, okay? That's the one thing to remember. I think this is office is what it says here. So I don't know your name, but that's okay. You want to always, when you pay your credit card down, you want to enter the full amount that you paid. Okay. So when you're entering, oh, this is my other sample file. Hold on. Let me share my other one. I wanted to share with you guys what the other version looked like. But let me switch back to the other QuickBooks so I can share with you. Oh, okay, here we go. It's like I wasn't sharing it right. So when you come in here and you're choosing, like, you pay your credit card, that's always going to be a vendor, your credit card company. Your bank account is always going to be who paid the credit card, right? Down here, you're always going to put in the credit card company, whatever your credit card is. I don't know if it's Visa or something. Let's see what this one is. It's not a real file, so I don't know if it's Visa. Yeah, Visa credit card. You would pay the full amount, including the overpayment. You have to do that so that you can reconcile. That's what I see QuickBooks users doing often, is saying, I know in the end this is what happened, so I'm just going to skip to that. And what you need to do in accounting is follow every step. You can't skip to the end result. If a customer paid you, then the NSF, and then they paid again, you want to enter it that way in QuickBooks. It will keep you from having a nightmare, especially if it happens in different months or different periods of time. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay. So when you come in here, you need to pay the full amount on your credit card. How do you record bounce checks and the check replacement? Just as I was saying, Michelle, you're going to follow the process. So we have step-by-step training inside of Commerce QuickBooks on how to do NSFs. Depending on if you're desktop or online, it's going to be a little bit different. With desktop, it actually has a button that you can choose that says like NSF, and you go through that process. If it's online, you're going to choose differently. So what you do is you record the customer payment. Then you're going to basically it bounce. You're going to take it back out of the bank. And then when they pay you maybe with a fee, you're going to do that. And if the bank charges you a fee as well, you're going to separate those. So every piece of it is going to be different. And it depends if you created an invoice initially or you went straight to income. But we teach you how to do that all inside of Commerce QuickBooks. I'm not on Facebook. I've seen a lot of the info on how good it gets in here and from others. Oh, like how much we help people. Is there another way to get connected? So you don't have to be on Facebook. Our live calls are hosted through Zoom, and we record them. We put them in the members area. So you don't have to be on Facebook to access time with me. What you get with Facebook is extra bonus resources and community. We actually have people who've joined the community just for that. You don't have to, that's totally up to you. But what you do when you come into Confidence with QuickBooks is we add the bonus Q&A calls here, so you can access the archives at any time. So you have access to that, okay? So if you're asking how do you join Commerce QuickBooks, you're going to go to commercequickbooks.com, see a little video from me. You'll click and you'll see you can do either the installments or the pay in full. You're going to click Get Started here, and you'll see the different options. This is if you're an online user, there's a video that explains it, desktop or the bundle. You can do pay in full. If you do pay in full, you'll still get an opportunity to add the other version if you want as you go to checkout. And today, because some of you asked me, you said, hey Candace, do you have a smaller monthly payment? Because I really want to do this, but I need a little smaller payment. So we did a 12 pay option for you. You can find out more about that right here on commonquickbooks.com. Okay, let's see what other questions you have for me. For a rally business with 1 to 2 clients, would you recommend the basic QuickBooks options or a Google Sheet? I don't want to use unnecessary expense, but I also have expenses from my clients. So whenever you're thinking about, is it the right time to add QuickBooks? I think this is a really good question, because I sometimes see people complaining, like when desktop made some of the switches, they'd be like, oh, I don't want to do it. And my question is always, the amount of money you're going to spend, do you have a benefit? Are you going to be able to make a decision that will make more than that? In other words, like for me, if I accidentally invoice somebody on Square and then I didn't get to collect that money because I didn't know about it, that would have been a fraction of the cost of QuickBooks, right? So you just have to ask yourself, if I don't have a check and balance system, which is what reconciling does, you can't really do that easily with Excel. If I don't have a way to bring in my different transactions and verify that I didn't miss any, if I just missed, how many expenses would I need to miss in a year or not get paid from a customer in a year to offset the cost of QuickBooks. And those are only decisions you guys can make. What I can tell you, if you're new to QuickBooks Online, if you go to CandiceCamper.com/QBO, we'll put the link for you out there. You can choose to either do Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, or Advanced. Now, they had self-employed that they now call solopreneur. You can create invoices and things like that, but it does have limitations on some of the reports and things that you can use to really manage your business. So I typically like to teach from at least Simple Start. Okay. The difference of this CandiceCamper.com/QBO gives you 30% off as a new user for 12 months. Okay. The difference between them is the functions with which they give you. Hope that makes sense. And I hope that answered your question. All right. So you guys just answering my questions about where you're at with your QuickBooks. I'm just starting and scared. I've not worked in bookkeeping for years. Oh, we talked about that earlier, Barbara, because I was asking where you're at. I would say one of the benefits to Comms QuickBooks, if you haven't done bookkeeping in years, is learning how to use it properly. Because even when remember I said I worked for a roofing supply company? The reason I started QuickBooks was when I worked there. The owner of that company helped us start up, and they were using QuickBooks. And I was using Mass 90, like I was using Peachtree, like I was using totally different software at the time. And he's like, well, you'll just be able to teach them QuickBooks. And I went to use QuickBooks, and I was like, I know how to do what I need to do, but I don't know how to do it over there. And so that's actually what inspired my whole journey of learning QuickBooks is I helped that company. And then I decided I loved it so much that I wanted to help more companies learn businesses, learn QuickBooks. And that's how I started consulting. That led me into teaching online, and it's all history now. But knowing how to do accounting and understanding QuickBooks are two totally different things to a degree, right? Like you don't actually have to know accounting to use QuickBooks, but understanding how the software works and the features is something different. Does that make sense? So a lot of times that's when like tax professionals, people come to me and they're like, I know how to do this, but I don't know QuickBooks, right? So it doesn't matter if you have your own business and you're like, I'm not really good at numbers. You don't have to be because QuickBooks can do it. And you can have accounting degree or knowledge and still not. I even have people who are pro advisors, QuickBooks pro advisors, that come to me and they're like, I have a certification, but I don't know how to use QuickBooks, Candice. And I'm like, that I can help you with, right? Because it's more about understanding what the feature does and whether you need to be using it or not. So you're not wasting time. Okay. Let's see what else you have. Any other questions? Pop them in. I've not ran your reports. Well, no, hopefully you know how to now that you've been to this class, this little session with me. I use QuickBooks Desktop Pro for 2020. To connect with the bank, you have to upgrade. Yeah, so if you use, I did a lot of videos on this, but QuickBooks Desktop back in 2020, 2021 changed. And if you didn't choose to keep paying the subscription, you can't use the new features. You can still use QuickBooks, but you can't process payroll and you can't do like email invoices and some of those things. Yep, but if you choose to pay, you can keep doing it. All right. Desktop. You guys just answering questions. I have a few questions about the program. I'm ready to buy after the last workshop I attended, but came here to make sure I know what I'm walking into. I love that. Is this the right setting to ask questions? Yeah, ask me whatever you want. Let's see if she did. This is the time. Ask me whatever you'd like. Okay, enjoying your classes? Oh, that's awesome. QBO just put up a class to understand the updates. We do those, yeah. So we will do, as the updates happen, we'll be doing updates. The thing about it is that literally, if you set up a new company, it will look like this one. Mine still looks like the other one, like the one I'm literally using in my own. And a lot of my students, when they come into our live like Q&A sessions, theirs still looks like this. So there's changes and updates, and as they happen, we do updated videos, and we've been releasing them. So you keep an eye out on that. So you have a friend who opened up a tea room about a year ago and has no software, only uses POS system. Okay, it's a long question. When it gets like very long like that, it's hard for me to read it on a live, so I'll have to kind of look through it. My thought is to start her the first month paperwork she had last year. So this is what I teach inside Commerce QuickBooks in the first pillar, which is setting up, is where do you start if you're starting with a QuickBooks file from the beginning? And this is going to be where you're going to say, what do I need? So whenever you're going to start a new QuickBooks file, or you're thinking about starting over, you have to say, what period of time do I want in my QuickBooks, and what's the purpose of it? So if you're saying, let's say that she never filed, or maybe you, whomever is listening to this, never filed your taxes for 2024, then you're probably going to want to add the 2024, unless you're like, I'm going to figure that out some other way. I'm going to start in 2025 with QuickBooks, or I'm going to start in 2026 with QuickBooks. Doesn't really matter, but that's the question you have to add. And then you grab that data. You need your bank account, you're going to need your sales, you're going to need your expenses, and you can start entering that into QuickBooks. If it's a brand new business, you always want to also grab the expenses you had to set up the business, like the expenses maybe the owner paid for before the business started generating any revenue, as expenses as well. Hopefully that answered your question. Is it important to categorize before reconciling? Yes, we talked about that before. Let's see, any other questions? How often should you do that? I think you meant reconcile. You want to reconcile monthly. So you can get behind your reconciling, but you always have to reconcile in a sequential order. So you want to start in January, February, March, April, May, June in sequential order. You don't want to try to do like November and then do January. It doesn't work like that. Because remember, it has a beginning date and an end date. So the end date of one month becomes the beginning of the next. If you ever look at a statement, this is like a fake statement to be honest, but you have like an end date and a begin. You have the date the statement starts with the beginning balance. You have the end date with the ending balance. The ending always becomes the next month's beginning. That's how it works. So that's how you have to follow it in the system, which I teach you how to do. Okay. You want to reconcile monthly. If you get behind and you have to do like 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 months, fine, a year, doesn't matter. But you want to try to stay as current as possible, because if you want your reports to help you make decisions, you want to be reconciling them so they're accurate. How often is cleanup training in Commerce QuickBooks? And is it different than what I have in QuickBooks Simplified? So Commerce QuickBooks teaches you how to use QuickBooks properly, the A to Z's of setting up and optimizing QuickBooks. It comes with bonus training on how to clean up the bank and the credit cards. Our QuickBooks Simplified community, I usually recommend after, but sometimes people join it first and then they're in both. QuickBooks Simplified, we focus on if you want to learn how to clean up other areas of QuickBooks. It's not currently open for enrollment, but the difference is Commerce QuickBooks was designed on, they're very different. So Commerce QuickBooks is more of a self-study with bonus calls, like library to go through to learn how to use QuickBooks correctly and how to show up to your tax plan with confidence, how to process payroll, those types of things. Where in QuickBooks Simplified, we focus primarily on cleaning up mistakes. And there, it's more of a community that you have access to. So it's just different. If you have more questions, let me know. What does cleanup mean in this setting? So what it means is when you have old transactions sitting in your reconciliation, you need to remove them, but you cannot delete them. If you delete them, what happens is that it alters your reports from a prior period of time. If you've already filed taxes and you entered expenses or income, deposits, in those prior periods of time, they impact either the balance sheet or the profit and loss. Those are the two reports you use to file taxes. Okay. So what some people think is, oh, I see that transaction, I don't need it, I'm just going to delete it. But what happens is it alters your reports from the prior period. If you ever get audited or you go to verify your reports are the same or not, they won't match. So when I say clean them up, it's to go in, depending on certain scenario, have you filed taxes or not? What is the actual mistake? We go in and we clean it up. We correct it. We make adjusting entries for those things. They vary depending on the types of mistakes they are. Hopefully that made sense. I even went through my okay. So Lucy was saying earlier that her bank and her QuickBooks balance don't match. And she said, but I went through line by line. What you're missing, I guarantee it, Lucy, you can always come on one of our bonus calls inside of Commerce QuickBooks and I'll look at it for you, is you have old transactions sitting there that are wrong. If month after month your beginning balance never matches. So the way QuickBooks works, let's jump in here, is when you're looking at your bank account, okay, and we go to the register, you have transactions, you have a balance, right? Like just like a regular check register where you have income and expenses, money comes in, money goes out. QuickBooks is the same way. If this balance isn't even close to what your balance is, you have old transactions, maybe from years ago, that never cleared, that were mistakes. And when you fix those, it will, with adjusting entries, it will bring it back to where it really should be. Typically, if tax already been filed, we do those in the current year. So we're in alignment with IRS guidelines and generally accepted accounting principles. In other words, we're doing it right. We're not just deleting things. Okay? Yes, especially with outside software, duplicates are rampant and need to be cleaned up. Yeah. So it's like there's all these things that you're going to learn that you didn't know, which is okay, you didn't know, but definitely want to get fixed. Are the classes released all at once or dripped over time? So they used to be, you got module 1 and 2, and then you got the others. Now inside Comms QuickBooks, you get access to all of them at once. Now, even though I do that, I would love for you to go through them in sequential order, because if you skip, we talk about that even on our fast track call, because we've had students who skip and then they go, you know what, I realized I didn't do what you said. I just went to a specific training, and now I realize why you want us to do it in order, because everything builds on itself. Are the videos updated as tax laws change or the interface changes? Yes, but to be honest, we cannot keep up with all of QuickBooks' changes. So we do go back and change them. Like right now, we need to do some updates for the online version. We just finished our updates for the desktop. But like I said, not everybody even has the 2 different versions right now. Some people have this version, and then some people have the other version. So what I do is I try to give you guys like understanding of how the software works, but we do go back and update them as we can. And like the 1099, when the new changes happen, every year we update those. Those are in the second pillar under vendors. When today's class is over, it will be available on our blog, so you'll be able to watch this lesson there. I need a copy of this training. No worries, we got you. My biggest problem is QuickBooks is knowing how to properly categorize items. So what I teach is that there are things you need to know about it, but it also comes down to how do you want to see it on your profit and loss? What category do you want that expense to? And I can look at it and give you some suggestions as well. I love the shortcut keys. Yeah, that was earlier when we were talking. Okay. I'm using a standalone customer resource program. Could there be a way to phase that out from this for confidence for QuickBooks, Debbie? I don't know what your customer resource management software gives you. Does it track your customer details like it's a CRM? I don't know. You'd have to maybe email us and we could give you some more information. Can it be available through the weekend? I work and homeschool during the evenings. So the reason enrollment closes tomorrow is as far as the period of time for this cohort is because we're going to kick off our calls next week. And so we're going to go through them together for those of you who want to attend live. There'll be a replay if you can. If you're saying, can I watch the classes nights, weekends, because I'm doing other things? Absolutely. You can log into the members area to the training portal and watch it when it works for you. Yeah, a lot of people have both of our programs together because they work well together. Will we get help knowing whether we need to go back and clean up things? Yeah, you can let me look over your QuickBooks file. You literally can bring in your QuickBooks file, look at it to the class. The end of the day tomorrow, it's 9 p.m. technically Pacific, 12 p.m. 11:59, whatever, Eastern is when enrollment closes. All right, keep popping in your questions while you guys do. I'm just going to play a short little video from our alumni that said what it's like to be part of this community, and I'll come back and answer a few more questions for you.
It's easier than you think if you have someone that will walk you through the process.
What I'm loving about the Confidence in QuickBooks is
the ease of information to find and use. I feel like if I run into a problem, I have some place to go as a resource.
The library aspect of it, to where it's all in the portal, and I can go back and use it.
I can always go back and refer to it, because I can go back to my library and say, oh yeah, I missed that step.
Your system, in a beautiful way, pulls in anything that it can find related to that subject.
I like how you have it broken up so that I can go back and just look at specific things too that apply to me.
I love having that resource for me.
Issues, how to troubleshoot.
I can see where it's going to be a time saver.
If you are thinking about purchasing the program because you realize that you need it as a resource, I highly recommend doing it.
I would tell that individual to sign up. It's worth every penny.
Put in the effort, and if you want to learn, then everything is there for you to learn.
I just, encourage people to join if they're hesitating, give it a try. I mean, I'm sure you're going to love it. I encourage people to join.
And I honestly don't think that I would be where I am. I was a day or two away from quitting my job when I found you. And I don't know that I would still be working here had I not clicked on your YouTube. Okay, I'll try one more YouTube video and see if I can finally get it through my thick skull. So I honestly don't know if I would still be here had I not found you, Candace. And I do love my job because I love my church. I love the people I work with, but numbers and accounting just wasn't my thing. So thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Which is well worth it. Definitely.
Like, I wish I'd come across her, in 2017.
And so I thank God that I found you.
I share that with you. Hopefully the audio is okay. They said it wasn't working fully for some of you. But I share that with you because I know that you're sitting here thinking, can I learn this? Can I do it? And they all were in the same place, wandering, and they wanted you to know they could do it, that you can do this too. All right. So some of you had some questions. One of them was, what is the best way to reconcile your credit cards when you have never done it before? How far do you go back? So we actually have in Commerce QuickBooks, in our fourth pillar where we talk about reconciling, it says, like, what do you do to clean up a reconciliation if you've never done it before? You are going to need to make a decision at that point, depending on how long you've had QuickBooks, to either decide when are we going to call it like the cutoff. And from there back, we do a cleanup reconciliation. From here forward, we keep moving. And I can help. I teach you guys how to do that step by step in there. Will the training be for desktop, online, or both? We have specific training for each, so you can choose just the desktop version, just the online version, or you can choose to do a bundle. If you want both, you get 50% off the second version. Nice. Nice. Is the newest version of QBO featured in the lessons? No, because not everybody has it yet. So when we do the Q&A, I'll help you. And our new videos, when we make them, we'll add them. But literally the moment we create a video, like I created the new version a month ago, and it doesn't even look like the new version when I did our QBO. So the concepts are always going to be the same. The left panel, how you navigate the left side, is pretty much the biggest change. When they first rolled out the new version, they moved the plus to the right, and now it's back. So whenever that happens, I always send you guys out a video like, okay, this is what you need to know. These are the changes that have happened. But they do make changes. So it probably takes us, like, say our training videos are 15 to 20 hours of training that you go through. It takes our team probably over 200 hours to create them. So we'll give you a video when it changes, but we do update the trainings, but it takes us time. So they're not going to all be updated immediately. When they get released, you'll get the newest ones. Let's see. Okay, I think I already answered that for Michelle. Our difference between Commerce QuickBooks is more of a sales study with the A to Z's of how to use it. Comes with calls, so I will help you implement any questions you have. You guys get bonus calls. And then our QuickBooks Simplify community is more of a how do you clean up mistakes. So they cover two totally different topics. You get some bonus in Commerce QuickBooks about cleaning up, but typically if you know how to do it right, you don't need to clean it up. The reason typically mistakes happen is because you or someone else didn't do it right to begin with. I usually always recommend starting and going through Comms QuickBooks. Not everybody does it that order. Sometimes they find Simplified first and then they come to Comms QuickBooks, but I always recommend starting there because if you don't know how to do it right, you're going to keep making mistakes. Okay. 9 closes at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. It's like 11:59. You know, it's about the same. Want to send? Okay, so you can just email us at support@candacekamper.com if you have any other questions. So what's a little different about me is somebody asked, like, how did you learn all this? There were no classes when I wanted to learn this in 2006. The actual funny story is, so I went to the Builders Exchange, which I used to be a receptionist at years and years ago. And I said, hey, I want to learn QuickBooks. And they're like, yeah, we don't have anybody to teach it. And I'm like, if I go learn QuickBooks, can I come back and teach the class? And they laughed at me. 6 months later, they hired me to come and teach a class. One of my gifts, like I've taken accounting class and stuff, but one of my gifts is software learning. And I don't know, it's just one of my superpowers. So yeah, I got to go back, start teaching classes. Been doing it ever since. Dixie said, I joined a little late to the live Q&A. Well, you can ask any questions if you want. I'm here. Would you say your class would replace a community college or maybe recommend both? So my students that have come to me have taken sometimes 2 college classes. What they tell me is the difference is that our class is more build from scratch how to do a QuickBooks file, and it's not a canned file. So a lot of times when you go to college class, they have a QuickBooks, like a book, and they're going to go, okay, we're going to go through this book. But what my students tell me is when they leave, they a lot of times can't apply how to use it to real life because they know how to do it in that scenario, but they couldn't translate it back. Edith is one of our students. If you want to hear her story, if you go to confidencewithquickbooks.com, let me see if I can find it for you. She shares about that. I've had a lot of students. I've had people go through training straight from Intuit and say they couldn't get it, or people come to try to work with them and they couldn't get it. So when you go to Comms QuickBooks, if you want to hear more of their like journey, scroll down here. You can go through and learn from, like, hear from our students on what it is. This is Edith right here. She had taken many college classes, but didn't feel she could do it. I was looking for Mary. We shared Mary's story the other day. She had taken Intuit classes. So a lot of these people were not their first, like they tried something else, but still didn't get it. So I definitely go through and here, this is Mary right here. She had taken classes before. She had actually taken Intuit classes, went to a 2-day and said she didn't learn anything. So there's a lot of different options out there. But a lot of my students come to me because they've tried something and it didn't work. That's why they're like, I wish I'd have found her sooner. That's what I'm sharing. Most people don't go, oh, I didn't, I got everything I needed. They're like, oh, that didn't work. So that's just from what they tell me. Okay. Okay, let's see. Do you offer just a workshop on how to set up QuickBooks? I'm able to commit to the full. We don't have a separate class that teaches you just how to set up QuickBooks. We have Confidence QuickBooks at this time, yeah. Stephanie goes, I find their help section not very helpful. Yeah, our community is pretty amazing. I'm proud of what we've created. Do you teach depreciation in the classes? Yes. So inside of Confidence QuickBooks, I think depreciation's in 4. It's either in 4 or 5. I'm like, where did we put depreciation? That's the bonus in the asset. Hold on. I think it's in 5. Or it's under ACE. Daniel, do you know off the top of your head where we put it? Oh, it's right here. Depreciation, closing entries. How to remove your assets. Some other bonus training. Yeah, that's where it's at. Thank you, Candace. You're welcome. I have a small cookie business with no employees, just myself and no vendors. Is there a program? Is your program more too advanced? No, Debbie, because I would say in the long run, you're going to learn. You may not need to process payroll and all that, but it will be there if you ever need it. But learning how to track your expenses, like your cost of goods for what it costs you to buy your cookie supplies, will be valuable for you. Yeah, definitely. Is the Home Depot card entered the same way a Visa would be? Yeah. Home Depot is just a credit card, right? So any credit card, Visa is just like if you got it, it's just a generic MasterCard Visa, but you usually get it from a bank or someone like Home Depot, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, Amex, right? Capital One, something. Should I continue to reconcile if my balance is off? Yes, because reconciling is just comparing that all your transactions are correct. Cleaning up why your balance is off is something else that you want to get fixed so your balance sheet is correct. Terry, email us and we can let you know more about that. Oh, some of you are just talking about like why. So what she's saying, somebody's like, it might be a transposed number. What she's saying is her QuickBooks balance, she reconciled every month, but her QuickBooks balance and her true bank balance are way off. That comes from mistakes within QuickBooks. It's not like a transposition number. I had specific questions with our CRM syncing correctly with QuickBooks, and my sales and sales tax were way off. So that's like you need some help with how you bring it in, Debbie. So when you have a third-party app and you bring it into QuickBooks, or you have a third party that's checking, like for example, when somebody comes to me and they have a restaurant business or are in the medical field or something like that, where they're like, we have a specialty software, you have to choose what do you want QuickBooks to bring in for you, right? Do you want it to bring in everything, or do you want to bring in a summary of the transactions? For medical field, traditionally, we bring more of a summary in of the total sales because they don't need all of that data also in QuickBooks. So those are one of the things that you could ask me and we could talk about. I'm speaking of the live recording. I don't know what that means. Oh, that was you guys saying turn up the volume. I think I did that earlier. And then I muted myself. I just messed it all up. Sorry. For Zoom people, if you were on YouTube or Facebook, it probably wasn't a problem for you. I was wondering how to reconcile invoices as paid and matched when the payee sends one check for multiple invoices. So when a customer has multiple invoices and you've created an invoice, you need to be paying those through received payment. You do not want to try to match them through a bank feed. So one of the things I teach inside Comms QuickBooks is that bank feeds in QuickBooks in general speeds up data entry, okay? So bank feeds where you sync it, but you still always want to follow best practices to do invoice to receive payments. We even have people in our community that we bring in to support you guys that have worked with Intuit, been to Intuit support, those types of things that support our community now. And she's an expert, but one of the things she's always like, please tell people to use the receive payments, because a lot of times you try to go into the bank feed and sync them. And what you'll find is that matching them won't work as well when you have multiple payments as if you did the receive payment screen, okay? So whichever version you're using, if you're using this version and you're coming into your bank feed and you're trying to like just match them here, you want to add them and then match it as already being recorded. So it's a 3-step process. You receive your invoices, you receive the payment, you record the deposit. And in the deposit, you choose the different payments that make up that deposit. This is where the undeposited funds comes into consideration. Okay. There's more questions. Let's see. Is your course for helping people with QBO or for people wanting to start a bookkeeping business? So I focus on learning how to use QuickBooks. We have a lot of bookkeepers who come to us and they are able to grow their businesses because what was holding them back before with their bookkeeping business specifically is they say, I don't know, and I have gaps in my knowledge. Like I don't know how to make QuickBooks work for any business. Like I feel like I can't take on any client. So for anybody who's doing bookkeeping, the benefit of Comms QuickBooks is learning how to use it right. But traditionally, my focus isn't like, let's grow your bookkeeping business. It is, let's be confident with QuickBooks. Let's be able to enter every transaction. So it's for business owners, bookkeepers, tax professionals, anybody who wants to learn how to use QuickBooks properly, I would say. I've been trying to get someone to assist me with the categorizing of transactions, said Stephanie. So the key to knowing how to categorize your transactions, well, there's questions you could ask, like, I went and bought a piece of equipment. What do I do? Well, you're going to want to set up the asset, right? So that's categorizing. But if you're talking about, I went and bought some supplies, it's always going to be dependent on what you want to see on your profit and loss. You can still ask us questions about that. but it depends what you mean by categorizing. Is it expenses? Is it income? Is it when you buy something? Because I'm going to teach you those types of things. Yeah, it doesn't matter which version. Beth asked, does it matter which version of desktop I have? No, any version of desktop is great. Yeah, how to categorize transactions. Your training, does your training teach me to get certified? Because I heard that Intuit classes test you on nothing close to what you need for Intuit training. I mean, I'm never gonna try to like say somebody else doesn't teach what you need. What I can tell you, all I can tell you is this, is that my focus is teaching you how to use QuickBooks in real life examples. It's not focused on just getting a certification. It's about how to really use it. I need to do accounting for 2 businesses with a half a dozen Airbnbs. How hard is it to set up? I need to do accounting for 2 businesses. So I would set it, it's not hard, but if I was going to do that and I was going to have an Airbnb, I would consider doing it by class. It's one of my favorite features for desktop and online. It's like what I shared earlier with job costing, but you can do each individual rental. If you're using online, you're going to want one of the top 2 tiers of it because that's going to give you the class feature, which is going to give you the best and most robust training because you can have one rental income versus trying to do a chart of accounts that's so long with lots of different ones, which makes it really hard to make business decisions. Is there enough info in here to help me with e-commerce? It depends what you want to learn specifically. Like I don't focus on, say, Shopify, but I can teach you how to track your sales. So you are going to need to sync. You can sync your Shopify information to come in, but you need to decide, or if you're using, I don't know what e-commerce you're talking about specifically, but if you're using Amazon or something like that, you're always going to want to track your income and your expenses and your reports. That is my biggest focus. There are different third-party apps. There's different software. I don't teach each one because there's too many for me to specialize in 5 of them when there's hundreds, right? So my focus is more what can QuickBooks do for you within the software? And we bring the data in, and then how do we make it work for you? Does that make sense? Okay. If I'm not able to join in this round, when is the next one? Our next public enrollment will be most likely in January. So it's our fall enrollment, and then we'll have our, I think that's considered winter, but January is our 2026 class. I switched my business checking account to a business money market account to earn more interest. How do I record that deposit transfer? So you're going to want to probably set up 2 bank accounts. It depends if the money physically leaves your account. So like I have a high yield savings, but my that's like a different account. So I take money out from the business, put it in a high yield savings. If I do that, that's like a transfer and it moves out. It depends if your money market moves every night, comes back in plus interest, then you don't really have to move it out. You just need to put the interest in. So it would depend on what physically happens in your bank would be depending on how you do it in QuickBooks. Does that make sense? Because you want to be able to reconcile. So you want to make sure you have the flow. Okay. Any special bonuses when you join today? You get access to, I don't have any specific special bonuses, I don't think, for today. Nope. Just you get to go, you get to get in and get started. So you get the cleanup bonus, our other stuff, you get to come to calls with me. But I don't think, we don't have anything extra special, other than the 12 pay option. That's something we offered today. That's different, I think. That's it. Can we get a copy of this recording after this is over to hear some of the answers again? Yes, Beth. If you go to if you just click on the link that we use, like Q&A later, it'll redirect to the replay. Okay, I'm gonna come over here. We have some YouTube questions and Facebook. Let's go. Some were based on bad data. I'm pretty good. So, he just answered my questions. I'm working with a prospective client that wants to do job costing. He has a flooring business, love that. And he's using the Simple Start. Simple Start's okay, but you don't have all the features. So I would consider at least 1 level up probably for job costing, extra stuff, like to be able to enter bills so you can do more of your job costing. You could do it, but you just limit it on some of your features. Which thought of the deck? Oh, what deck am I using? Douglas asks. This is the Life Loves You deck by Louise Hay and Robert Holden. I love it. It's just inspirational. The accounts need to be cleaned up. One of the accounts has $188,000 in unclear transactions. So the first step that I would do, Douglas, because you joined us this way, I can actually populate it, the question on here. When it's through Zoom, I can't, which was what the other questions, but this one I can. So when you do this, when you go to clean it up, what I would recommend you do is learn how to do it right. And you go in. So part of the cleanup process is mistakes happen because something wasn't followed the proper process. So depending on where the 188,000 comes in mistakes, you might want to amend the return, or they may want to, I'm thinking through, like, they might want to amend the return or clean it up. Depends if their profit and loss match their tax return to begin with. If you're doing bookkeeping for a lot of people, I would definitely start with Compass QuickBooks so you learn how to use it right. But I would consider adding QuickBooks Simplified in the future for the extra training you're going to get with cleaning up, because you may need a little bit more. And I don't say that to everybody, but for you, you might. Just going to throw that out there. You don't have to, but just something to consider. Simplified isn't currently open, but we will be doing classes about cleaning up QuickBooks some more next month. Okay. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? I think that was the team just answering them. I entered a credit card data back in 2022 on an account that I am cleaning up. It is a mess, and the checking account has $144,000 worth of misapplied payments. Because your amounts are so large, I'd consider probably redoing the tax return. Okay, let's see. Sometimes people ask, like, how long are our Q&A calls usually, the bonus calls you get Cost QuickBooks? Around 90 minutes. But as you can tell, like, I'll stay and hang out with you guys, get your question answered. Sometimes people ask that, like, well, I get my question answered. I'm like, yeah, if you join Cost QuickBooks, you come to a live call, I will look at your QuickBooks. I'll help you as much as I can. And we'll go through and answer them as there's a few more questions. So we'll go through. Excited to get started. Thank you. Welcome. If you join, let us know so we can welcome you. How many calls are there? For Cost QuickBooks, I say 2, but technically there's a bonus one that you get, so there's 3 bonus calls, plus you get the community. Do you cover how to work with different businesses? So throughout the training, I talk about different types of businesses, and then on the live calls, Valerie, you can come ask questions like, I have this kind of client, how would I apply that to them? But really, that's what I'm teaching inside Cost QuickBooks. It's saying it doesn't matter. The reason QuickBooks can work for different businesses is we do workarounds as well, which is like, you want to do this, so this is something you're going to need to do to make that happen, right? Like, we can redesign it a little bit. We can kind of customize it in that way. So if you have different types of businesses you're working with, as you go through the training, you're going to hear me say, if you're in real estate, it's going to look like this. If you're in a contractor, if you're a hairdresser, if you're a service-based, if you're in the medical field, and you're going to apply it. And if you come to the Q&A, you're going to hear people that ask different questions with different industries. You're going to see how I teach them and how to do it, how to apply what you're learning to their business. And you'll have those where you have the aha moments too. If we purchase Confidence with QuickBooks, do you show us how to set up the chart of accounts properly? Yes, because I'm teaching you all throughout it. When you see the transaction that you enter, how it impacts it, I'm going to say, is that what you want? And I'm going to teach you how to do it. And you can always ask questions on the live calls as well. Thank you for spending so much time with the Q&A. Of course. I'm here to answer questions. Like, my goal is for you to have transformation. It's not just to be like, I don't know, say you can do something but not show up. Like, my goal, I shared this earlier, maybe before we started live, but I said, I was busy with some of you, and I was saying, like, integrity is one of my core values. They were asking me about how I show up, like, how do I do my schedule? And I'm like, integrity, like, I do what I say I'm going to do. That's one of the things. I've been doing QuickBooks for a really long time. You don't get to impact people's lives and change a lot of lives without having integrity and doing what you say you're going to do, right? And so if you commit to showing up, I'll commit to being there with you to help you get your QuickBooks figured out. You come to the calls, I'll answer your questions. You're here. I'll be here too. Did I miss the info regarding the 12 payment option? No, you can access it on confidencequickbooks.com because you are making payments over a longer period of time. The payments are 12 payments of 111. You can find that here. You can, if you just click join, it'll take you kind of in that area. The 12 pay options right here. Whether you do 6 pay, pay in full, or 12 pay, you get all of the same training. It's just whatever works best for you. Lauren, hopefully that makes sense. Stephanie asks, do you combine the Commerce QuickBooks and the QuickBooks Simplified monthly calls? No, they are 2 separate calls. Can I ask an older version of QuickBooks? Can an older version of QuickBooks take the course? Yes, you don't have to be just pick desktop and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Is there an annual fee for each year you continue with the program after the initial? No. Commerce QuickBooks, Debbie, you're paying for lifetime. So you either pay in full, you're done. You choose 6 payments, you pay 1 payment today, and you do your 6 additional installment or 5 additional installments, you're done. 6 total. If you do 12, after the 12, it's yours. There's no additional fees for those. The only thing is if you choose someday you want to add extra calls, like bonus calls. The bonus calls we do, if you want to, I do host them monthly. If you're like, oh, I like to keep coming to calls with Candace. Like I love hanging out with me. You can. You get 3 included for the purchase of Commerce QuickBooks as a gift from me to you. If you want more, you can always add them later. But you don't have to keep paying yearly for it or anything like that. Okay, I think I answered all the questions. Anything else before I go? Thanks for hanging out with me. If you're catching the replay, hello. There's a lot of hanging out. I think that's everything. Thank you. You're welcome. Sorry again about the 3 calls. Say it again. What do you want to know, Stephanie, specifically? Confidence QuickBooks comes with 3 calls. It says 2, but I give you 3. We have our fast track call and then 2 laser coaching calls because I like to give it to you. I'm committed to 2, but I give you 3. I already know. They're already all planned in my schedule. And I think that's everything. Anything else? Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. It's boring if I sit here and talk to myself, so I'm glad you guys came to hang out with me. Like, come ask me questions. I love it. It's my favorite part. It's actually Candus. She's like, Candace, not Candace. It's okay. My parents spelled it phonetic, which I love it, but most people, it's like, you spell it different. My parents did, but I accept it. Don't get me talking about parents and spellings of names. It's like a whole thing. But anyways, they gave me 2 middle names. They didn't want my grandmas to be jealous. They spelled my first name different. I mean, parents. I have 2 kids, just to be clear, and I didn't name them after anyone. So funny. Just so you guys know, this is what our calls are really like. We hang out. I help you. We always bowl thought of the day. If you want to know more, check out Commerce QuickBooks. Enrollment closes tomorrow. For those of you who've already joined, let us know. Come say hi. And I can't wait to help you. Have an amazing day. You know what? I miscall people's names all the time. I try not to misspell them, but sometimes I read them wrong when I'm reading through the chat. So if I said anybody's name wrong today, I apologize. It's like, there for a while, I did never want to host live calls. It's like, if I say people's names wrong, I'm going to look so stupid. And now I've just been like, I just embrace it. I'm like, hey guys, if you don't know this about me, I'll tell you a little fun fact just because we're hanging out here. I had dyslexia as a kid. I struggled. I couldn't read. I couldn't spell. And I just had to like own that. It's one of the reasons I'm a really great teacher, I think, because I think differently. I will always find a way to explain it to you in a way that makes sense. I'm a patient teacher because I know that like learning isn't always easy for people. And I struggled in school. And it's funny that I teach basically accounting, but I had trouble. So like spelling isn't my superpower. So I sometimes read people's names wrong, but I can help you still. So I decided like, why hold yourself back? Just because you're not good at one thing doesn't mean you can't be great at something else. And if you've been struggling with like learning numbers, or you think that you can't learn QuickBooks because your math teacher was mean to you, does not have to be the case, right? The cool thing about a software is it does the math for you. And if you do what I teach you, which is to have little checks and balances in place. You don't ever have to worry about your numbers being wrong because the software will fix it for you or show you that you made a mistake, and then you can go in and fix it. So just a little side note about like how I see the world and a little more about, I guess, me. How can I arrange for a call? I'm at a work now, but would love to speak with someone. I'm on Eastern time zone. So you can email us, support@CamsCamfer. There's a phone number on the Comms QuickBooks page. We'll call you back. And my team is on chat. I'll be on chat later at CommonsQuickBooks.com. CommonsQuickBooks.com has the phone number and the chat. And you can email us. But yeah, I think that's everything for now. Where are you located, Pam asked. Any guesses? Where do you think? Where does my accent say I'm from? Do I have an accent? Just kidding. Yeah, thank you. I'm still using my QuickBooks Invite and learning after 2 years. I love that. Thank you. Northern California. Yeah. So I live out of Redding, which is a small town of like 100,000 people towards the very top of California, which is a huge state. I live 2 hours north of Sacramento and about 2 hours south of Oregon on the I-5 border. Not that you care that much, but you asked the question, so I'll just tell you. Okay. I think that's it for today. I hope you're having a great day. Enrollment closes tomorrow. If you have questions, if you're catching the replay, email us. Let me put my email address up here so you have it at support@CandaceCamper.com. You can hit reply to any of our emails. This is the last time we're having Comms QuickBooks open for public enrollment this year. So if you're wanting to get it figured out, you can do self-study. You can do it when it works for you. If you can't hit the come to the live calls, you can always catch the replay. But Comms QuickBooks itself is already all pre-created. Those stories that you heard, the people who are like, oh my gosh, I found Comms QuickBooks. It helped me. They've all been through this. They know what it's like to be part of this community. They want to inspire you to know what it would be like as well. Until next time, have an amazing day. Thank you for being part of my community. Toodaloo. Bye. I have to hit all the buttons. We're in many places. Goodbye.